everyone, happy bank holiday to you. It's May Day, which for a gardener is always a happy time. Now we're going to do a little video about dahlias today. I'm going to pinch out some of my dahlia tubers. I'm going to pinch out some of my dahlia cuttings that were from Halls of Heddon, and I'm actually going to do what I did last year, and I'm going to try and root the pinchings out, which did work. So in for a penny, in for a pound. We'll try that again. And then I'm just going to do an experiment with you. Obviously, when you take cuttings from tubers, you take them right at the tuber because you don't want a hollow stem. I'm going to try and root some hollow stems, and we'll see if it works at all or not. We'll try in a pot, and we'll also try with a hydro propagator. And this really is an experiment. I've never tried to root a hollow stem before. When I take my cuttings, I always take them off the tuber. But as I just said, I have rooted the pinchings out from cuttings before, so I'm fingers crossed that will work again this year. Because whereas I've got five of the same tuber of each variety, so I've got 5 Ambition, 5 Creme de Cassis, 5 Yellow Jill. With my cuttings, I only ordered 1 of each, so it would be really nice to take some cuttings from cuttings. And next year, those varieties, if I can get them through the winter, of course, we definitely will be taking some cuttings from those varieties early on, because the idea is nice to have 5 of all your varieties. So if you're making a bouquet, it's not just a mismatch of flowers, but you've got the same variety in a bouquet. Okay, let's go on with the video. Hello everyone, my name's Suzanne, and I garden and grow cut flowers in Devon in the UK. Okay, so this week I thought we'd have a little bit of a dahlia update, because I've started dahlias from tubers, I started some dahlias from seeds, and I also received dahlias as cuttings, which I did an unpacking of as well. So I've got dahlias that have all been started in different ways, but hopefully will all produce lovely flowers which I can use in my cut flower garden. So let's start. We're in the shed at the moment. I've got quite a few dahlias in here, so we're starting here, and then I'll either take you over to the greenhouse or I'll bring what I've got in the greenhouse over to the shed. But what I'm going to do today, I've got a few dahlias which are beasts because they're growing leggy because they need the light. But the only good thing is they have got really nice strong stems. So what I want to do with the ones that are this size, this is Wine-Eyed Jill, is I want to pinch them out. Now, usually when I'm taking cuttings, I take the cuttings from oh, here we are. I would normally take the cuttings from the tuber when it's just got little shoots like this showing. So what I'm doing today isn't taking cuttings, I'm pinching out, but that doesn't not mean I'm not going to try and root the pinchings out. I always give it a go. So all I'm going to do is pinch out the tip, and because I want to try and root these on and use them for cuttings, I'm not just going to use my fingers, but you can, but I'm going to use my snips. And if you look, I don't know if it's clear enough, but you can just see, just inside these leaves, where new side shoots will emerge. I don't think you can quite see, I can see. So inside where these 2 leaves are, there are some tiny little leaves just emerging, which will be the side shoots. So if I cut this whole top piece off, dahlia will then send out the side shoots there. And I'm going to do that with both of these top sections here. I'm going to pinch them both out. So very simple. I'm just going to snip them off like that. And then I'm just going to cut down the larger leaves on the side so that I can root those on. And I'm going to do both of these. And again, I'm just going to cut off some. You don't want too much leafy material, you see, because then they might go droopy. These possibly won't take, because the trouble with doing cuttings this way is that you can end up with a hollow stem, you see. But we'll give it a go. I'm actually thinking about doing an experiment here, because these are both from the same plant, both taken on the same day. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and root one in compost and sand mix with a humidity dome over the top, and the other one I'm going to try and root in my hydropropagator. So this will be a really interesting experiment. Anyway, I should have got my pot all ready to do this right away, so let's do that. So I've got some sand for my cuttings, because I don't want it to be too rich and composty. And I'm just going to put a bit of sand, a bit of compost, a bit of sand, a bit of compost. Okay, and then it's best to use a square pot for this, because it's best to try and root them down into the corner. I think I'm going to use the slightly smaller one in the pot, and then I'll put the other one in the hydro. So we'll just label that as Wine-Eyed Jill, and I'm just going to write on the pot for this, Wine-Eyed Jill. I'll just flip you around so you can see where I'm going to put it. Okay, so this is one I did yesterday. Oh yeah, it's the one I can't pronounce, La Corbière. Okay, and we just pop a little friend in there. Oh, oopsie. Not a very good start, is it? And then I'll pop the little. I will not water those cuttings, but I may spray the leaves with my mister. But I definitely won't put any water in. You don't want to be putting any water into that compost until you see roots, because it's plenty damp enough. The only reason you put water in the compost is if it was really, really dry. Right, okay, so now we'll pop this one in the hydropropagator. I really don't think this is going to work because this is so hollow, but I don't think you've got anything to lose. I just need to make a bit of space in the hydropropagator, so I'll see if I can find anything in there that's rooted so that we've got room for this one. Okay, great. So you can see the little roots here from the hydropropagator. This is a snapdragon that I pinched out. I'd obviously already pinched it out because it's already got 2 branches. I wonder if it's one that had just snapped off, because it would be unusual for me to pinch it out again. But anyway, we'll pop that into some compost, and then we've got this disc where we can sit our dahlia cutting. And then I'll show you what the hydropropagator looks like. So very carefully remove it. I probably would usually have left him in there just a little bit longer, just to get a few more roots. But I really want to give this dahlia experiment a go. So let's find a little pot. The other day, I think it was a few weeks ago, I told you I was washing my pots. I still haven't washed all my pots. They're still in a wheelbarrow waiting to be washed. So this is a don't do this at home. This is a pot that has not been washed. Breaking all the rules. I'm not going to worry so much about this mix being sandy, because this has got some roots and it's not a dahlia. I don't even know what snapdragon that is, so I can't label it because I don't know. Okay, so now we'll put our dahlia cutting into the disc. Well, he's actually a bit fat for it even. So pop him into the disc, and then we'll pop him into the hydropropagator. Okay, so here it is. So it's very, very simple. So it's got a cover here to keep the moisture in. And then these little discs are where you hold your stem. And obviously this is where we need to put our dahlia. So we'll just stick him in there. I really don't think that dahlia will work, but yeah, we'll give it a go. And then in here I've got, this was from my parents' garden. So, oh, look at that. I wasn't expecting that. So this is Spirea the Bride. And in fact, you can just see I took a few of those. There were a few of the flowers there. So that's quite good. So we can put those on in a minute. I think that's both of those. I put 2 stems in there and they both rooted, so that's great. And then Brachyglottis is actually really easy to take cuttings from. I've never done it in a hybrid propagator before. I usually do it just into pots. And then I've got some lavender here because my lavenders are all very ropey. So I'm hoping to be able to, oh there we are, there's just a root coming on that one there. So I think I'm going to end up chopping my lavenders down and then these will be the replacements. And this I don't think will take, but a rabbit had broken the stems on my spindle trees in my hedge. So again, it was worth a go, and then I've got some good squirrel there as well. So anyway, we'll see what happens with that dahlia. I'm not expecting much, but it certainly will be interesting to see. So we'll tuck those in. So these were the cuttings I received from Halls of Heddon, and I've already pinched one of these back. So I've pinched this one back. You can just see where I made the cut there, and you can see this is where the side shoots are coming out. And I'm just going to have a look at these now and see if there are any more that could do with being pinched. And I think I'm definitely going to do this one. This is Pulverton Christabel. Okay, so this is one of my Halls of Heddon's cuttings, and this is Rosemary Dawn, and this is a variety I have grown before and that I really liked. And I'm going to pinch this one out because I'm happy. He's got lots of sets of leaves, so I'm not going to pinch him right at the bottom here. I'm not going to pinch him at the second one here, and in fact for this one I think I'm going to pinch him here. His leaves are all nicely close together, so we're just going to pinch him out here like that, and then he should have some side shoots come from there. And last year I did this and I successfully managed to get the pinchings out from my cuttings to take and to become dahlias. Now, although they didn't have enough time in the growing season to produce tubers of their own, they did grow on that year and produce flowers that were usable for cut flowers. So I will try and root this little cutting. It's only tiny, and I will try and root it in a very sandy mix. So I'll just get my pot sandy mix. So what I've done with this is it's at the bottom of the pot, it's mainly peat-free multi-purpose compost, and then the top is very, very sandy with a little bit of compost running through it. But it does mean when the cutting eventually gets some roots, it will be rooting down into compost then, rather than the sand, but the sand will stop it from rotting off. And I'm just going to pop it just in the corner of the pot. Cuttings take much better in a square pot in the corner. They're always far more successful that way than they are in a round pot. And then we'll just label this one. And this was the one I've grown before, wasn't it? Rosemary Dawn. Now, if you were taking cuttings from a big tuber, obviously you could put a cutting in each corner of the pot, but because I'm just doing cuttings from cuttings, I only have one of each. So it does seem like a large pot, but needs must. Okay, so we'll go ahead now and pop that into a propagator. It's not a heated propagator, the propagator won't be on. The reason it's going in a propagator is so that it can have a humidity dome to stop the leaves drying out. And although I will not water the growing medium that's in the pot, I will lightly mist this with my sprayers on a regular basis just to stop the leaves from drying out. So we'll pop that in the propagator. Okay, so here's the propagator. I've put all of the leaves facing the middle so that when I'm taking the lid on and off to mist the leaves, I don't knock any of them. Now I mist them regularly just to stop them drying out, but obviously the humidity dome helps prevent them drying out as well. So just pop that one on there. Okay, and there's plenty of light in here from the skylight up above. Okay, so I've gone ahead and pinched out my cuttings from Hall of Heaven. I've pinched out 5, but I haven't pinched 3 out yet. I'm just going to let them grow on a little bit more before I pinch those out. And then they're still not being hardened off yet. They're still being mollycoddled in the shed. They've hardly had any water at all since I've had them. A good way to tell if they need watering is to just lift the pot and feel the weight of the pot. If the pot feels really light, give it some water. If it feels heavy, don't. Cuttings like this are very vulnerable. You can see though they have started to root out the bottom of the pot now, so that's brilliant. And watering from underneath really helps them do that. So if you place your pots into a tray of water, it just encourages them to put roots down. So you see this one hasn't rooted down yet. This one's got some nice roots coming down, so that's great. Okay, so anyway, that's the cuttings from Halls of Heaven. Let's go ahead now and look at some of the tubers. Okay, so they're all at varying stages of growth. This is a tuber that actually survived last year that was in a pot, so I didn't take this up. And this is Mexican Star. So that was quite nice that something did actually make it. And then let's see who we've got here. So this is Creme de Cassis. And again, not quite big enough to pinch that one out yet. None of these are quite ready for pinching. This is Joey Joshua. There's another Joey Joshua. Again, not quite ready for pinching. This is the one-eyed Jill that was a bit of a triffid, so that one's been pinched out. And I think I'll pinch this one. This is a wine-eyed Jill. But I'm not going to try and take any cuttings from this. This is just to make a bushier plant. So I'm just going to go ahead and just pinch the tip out there. So if we look here, we've got one set of leaves there and one set of leaves here. If I turn the dahlia, here you are. So this is where I'm just going to pinch the top out, just like that. And you can see this is why you take cuttings from tubers at the tuber, because you do end up with these hollow stems. But we will see if my experiment is successful or not, because you'd think that would be brilliant for cutting, but I really think the reason cuttings are taken from the tubers is so that you don't have the hollow stem. I'm still very tempted to try though, but I'm not going to. Right, okay, let's have a look at some more. Okay, so this one, his leaves are not looking good here. Can you see down at the tuber here? His leaves are drooping and he's got some droopy leaves here. So let's have an assess of the situation here and see what's going on. So he's got lovely roots coming out of the bottom of the pot. But I still suspect there's something not quite right with this tuber. Now, the pot feels heavy, so I do not think it's lack of water. I think if anything it's been overwatered. I think I'm going to go ahead and just pull this out of the pot and investigate what's going on here. You can see my sandy mix wasn't mixed particularly well. Yeah, this tuber is way too wet. Okay, it's not quite got to the point where it's rotting yet. But I need to really be careful here, not to give this any more water. I think it will be okay, but this is why, just when you see droopy leaves, don't think, oh, it's got drooping leaves, I must give it some water. Okay, sometimes that would be totally the wrong thing to do. So I'm definitely not going to water this. I'm just going to leave it alone and hope that it doesn't rot. It's definitely not rotten at the moment. Okay, so we'll put that one back. Okay, so that was the one we just looked at with the droopy leaves. You can see these ones don't have droopy leaves and they're a good weight. This one's actually quite light, so this one I would say needs some water. And we'll have a look and see. Yeah, roots are coming out the bottom. This is yellow gill. And what I'll do to water this one is actually add water into the tray that it sat in. So it sat in that little bowl there. So rather than water from the top, which essentially means watering the tuber itself and getting the tuber wet, what I'll be doing is allowing the roots to drink the water and then not soak the tuber. So yes, I've just sat that in the water. We'll just see if anyone else. No. Yeah, here's another one, and you can see it's got really good roots coming out the bottom. Who's this? This is another yellow gill, and it just feels a little bit dry to me, so we'll just give it a drink. But again, from the bottom, so that I'm not getting the tuber itself wet and rotting it. And then who was this one? No, that one's really heavy. That's Karma Naomi. Yeah, that one's quite tall, probably do a pinching out. Anyway, that's enough of the dahlias in here. Let's go and have a look at the dahlias in the greenhouse. Okay, so you can see where they're growing on in the greenhouse. They are much, much smaller, but in some ways that's good because they're not getting so leggy. But they look, a long way behind the others. And these were potted on at the same time. So that's the difference between my shed and the greenhouse. And then do you remember we started some Dahlia Bishop's Children as well? And it was really old seed and I didn't think the germination would be that good. Here's one of them. I think because that one's got darker leaves, that is going to be like the red or the hot pink, which will be lovely. And unfortunately this one has been a snack for a slug or a snail, which is obviously in here. He's been nibbling a few things. And then these ones in the tray just didn't come up at the same time. So that's why they're still in the same tray. And I've still got these gaps down the side. I said I was going to put cuttings in and I never did. So we've got, well, they germinated better than I thought because obviously I pricked 2 out and we've still got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've still got 5. So that's not bad at all. Although this one's been a bit eaten as well. But you can see this one hasn't even got its true leaves yet, so they're really growing on. It is worth paying attention to that when you've got a seed tray. Sometimes, things like Orlea and Dorcas are one. Don't just think it's finished when you've pricked it out. Leave it, keep watering it. And my Orlea seeds have been coming up for, the last 2 months, one at a time. And I was really pleased because I managed to get a full bed, which would have been 12 of them, and then a slug ate one. In fact, in the beginning, the slug ate about 3 or 4 of them. So anyway, I just thought, just while we're here, for those of you that follow my channel, do you remember all those zinnia seeds I chucked in the trays? I just thought I'd show you how that was going. This one, Early Wonder, I'll have to watch the video back because you remember I was going to be curious about the dates on the seeds as to see the germination rate, but Early Wonder is cracking tray. And then one tray, we've got to forgive it, it's on the floor and I think it's being a bit nibbled by voles, but I'll pick it up and show it to you. This was the Jazz, and can you see what I mean? That had a root on it and the leaf has just gone. And also I did just notice there's a zinnia seed here that's just been, and there's a hole. So I definitely think the Jazz is being a bit eaten, but there's the Jazz. So that's definitely a lot sparser. And then this is the whirligig, so that's not bad either. And then these are some zinnias I'd started a few weeks ago. I didn't date it, I'm terrible, but they're a salmon. They're a bit leggy. I think I'll pop them on and just put the stems a bit deeper in the compost. But anyway, this video is supposed to be at dahlias. Put the zinnias down. My poor phlox that had been planted in the tunnel have been dug up and potted because the slugs have been absolutely savaging them. And I really don't want to lose them, so they're being nursed now. Thanks everyone for watching this week's video. I'm going to go and enjoy the rest of my bank holiday Monday with a bit of gardening.